Picture a man standing at the crossroads of a nation tearing itself apart. Joseph E. Johnston, a Virginian forged in the fires of military tradition, faced an impossible choice: loyalty to the United States he'd served for decades, or to his beloved South. His heart pounded with pride, yet ached with the weight of a fractured country. A brilliant tactician, he outwitted larger armies, yet his soul bore the scars of personal losses, wounds from battle, a feud with Jefferson Davis that stung like betrayal, and the quiet grief of a childless marriage. Johnston's life is a saga of duty, sacrifice, and resilience, a man who carried the South's fading dreams to his last breath. Catching pneumonia at a rival's funeral to honor a soldier's code. His story begs the question: what does it mean to fight for a cause doomed to fade? JosephEJohnston Johnston, February 3, 1807, March 21, 1891. Was a pivotal figure in the Confederate States Army during the American Civil War, known for his strategic brilliance, defensive tactics, and contentious relationships with Confederate leadership. Below is a comprehensive account of his military career, focusing on his Civil War service, alongside details of his personal life crafted to engage and inform. I'll weave in the emotional hook you requested, grounding it in historical accuracy. Personal life: Joseph E. Johnston was born on February 3, 1807, at Longwood House near Farmville, Virginia, to Peter Johnston, a judge, and Mary Valentine Wood, niece of Patrick Henry, named after Major JosephEJohnston, under whom his father served in the Revolutionary War. Johnston grew up steeped in Virginia's gentry culture. With a strong sense of honor and duty, education, and early life, Johnston entered the United States Military Academy at West Point in 1825, graduating in 1829, 13th of 46. Alongside classmate Robert E. Lee, his time at West Point shaped his disciplined, reserved demeanor, though he was known for charm and wit among close friends. Marriage in 1845. At age 38, Johnston married Lydia Mulligan Sims McLean, daughter of Louis McLean, a prominent politician. Their marriage was deeply affectionate, but marked by sorrow. They had no children, a personal loss that weighed heavily on Johnston, who cherished family. Lydia's health was fragile, and Johnston's devotion to her was evident in his letters, where he expressed longing during long military separations. Personality: Johnston was proud, sensitive to slights, and fiercely independent traits that fueled his military decisions and personal feuds. His loyalty to friends and soldiers was unwavering, as seen in his later years when he attended Sherman's funeral despite their rivalry, a decision that cost him his life. Pre-Civil War military career: Johnston's pre-war service honed his skills and built his reputation as a courageous officer. Seminole War, 1838. As a first lieutenant in the U.S. Army, Johnston saw combat in Florida, earning a brevet promotion to captain for gallantry. Mexican-American War, 1846-1848. Johnston served with distinction under General Winfield Scott, wounded twice at Cerro Gordo and Chapultepec. He earned brevets to Major Lieutenant Colonel and Colonel, showcasing his bravery and tactical acumen. These experiences shaped his defensive mindset, emphasizing maneuver over frontal assaults. U.S. Army Quartermaster General by 1860, Johnston was a brigadier general in the U.S. Army, a rare rank for a peacetime officer overseeing logistics. His resignation in April 1861 to join the Confederacy was a wrenching decision driven by loyalty to Virginia. Civil War military career: Johnston was one of the Confederacy's senior generals, ranked fourth behind Samuel Cooper, Albert Sidney, Johnston, and Robert E. Lee. His war record is a blend of tactical brilliance, strategic retreats, and friction with Confederate President Jefferson Davis, whose distrust shaped Johnston's assignments and legacy. Key campaigns and battles: First Battle of Bull Run, Manassas, July 21, 1861. Role: Johnston commanded the Army of the Shenandoah, reinforcing General P.G.T. Beauregard's forces at Manassas, Virginia, using railroads for rapid troop movement. A Civil War first: Johnston's 11,000 men joined Beauregard's 20,000, facing 35,000 Union troops under Irvin McDowell. His timely arrival and leadership on the field helped turn a potential Confederate defeat into a rout of Union forces. The victory boosted Southern morale, But Johnston's frustration grew when Davis prioritized other commanders. His defensive instincts shone. But he clashed with Davis over strategy and rank. Davis demoted him to 4th in seniority, a slight Johnston resented. Emotional weight, Johnston felt the thrill of victory, but the sting of being undervalued, setting the stage for ongoing tension with Davis' Peninsula Campaign, spring 1862, role commanding the Army of Northern Virginia, then called the Army of the Potomac, defending Richmond against George B. McClellan's 120,000-man Union Army. Facing superior numbers, Johnston employed a defensive strategy, withdrawing up the Virginia Peninsula to exhaust McClellan's advance. At the Battle of Seven Pines, May 31–June 1, 1862, he launched a counterattack to disrupt McClellan's siege preparations. The battle was poorly coordinated, with Confederate assaults faltering. Injury: on May 31st, Johnston was severely wounded, chest and leg injuries from shell fragments forcing him from the field. Robert E. Lee assumed command, beginning his rise to prominence. He later reflected on the lost opportunity to shape the war's outcome. Emotional weight, the pain of wounds, was matched by the frustration of watching Lee take his place, deepening his sense of being overlooked. Western Theater 1863 role. After recovering, Johnston was appointed commander of the Department of the West, overseeing armies in Tennessee and Mississippi, including those of Braxton Bragg and John C. Pemberton. Johnston struggled with vague authority from Davis, who expected him to coordinate distant armies without clear command. He attempted to relieve Vicksburg during Ulysses S. Grant's siege, July 1863, but lacked sufficient forces. Vicksburg's fall, July 4, 1863, unable to break Grant's grip, Johnston withdrew, and Vicksburg's surrender was a major Confederate loss. Davis blamed Johnston, further straining their relationship. Emotional weight, Johnston felt the weight of impossible expectations, his strategic caution misread as indecision by critics. Yet he believed retreat preserved his army for future fights. Atlanta Campaign, May–Sept. 1864 role, commanding the Army of Tennessee against William T. Sherman's 100,000-man Union force. Johnston executed a masterful defensive campaign, using terrain to delay Sherman's advance through northern Georgia. Battles like Resaca, May 13–15, New Hope Church, May 25–26, and Kennesaw Mountain, June 27, saw Johnston inflict heavy Union losses while preserving his smaller army, 60,000 men. His strategy of trading space for time frustrated Sherman, but drew criticism from Davis for not attacking aggressively. On July 17, 1864, with Sherman nearing Atlanta, Davis replaced Johnston with John Bell Hood, who favored risky offensives. Johnston's caution had kept his army intact, but Davis saw it as a lack of fight. Impact Hood's aggressive tactics led to Atlanta's fall September 2, 1864. Validating Johnston's approach, in hindsight, emotional weight, the dismissal, was a gut punch. Johnston believed he could have saved Atlanta, and the public outcry over his removal reflected his soldiers' loyalty and trust in Old Joe. Carolina's campaign, February–April 1865 role, restored to command by Lee, now General-in-Chief. In February 1865, Johnston led a patchwork force against Sherman's march through the Carolinas, actions outnumbered. Johnston fought delaying actions at Averysboro March 16th and Bentonville March 19th to 21st. The war's last major battle, at Bentonville, he briefly surprised Sherman, but lacked the strength to win decisively. Surrender. On April 26, 1865, at Bennett Place, near Durham Station, North Carolina, Johnston surrendered his army to Sherman after Lee's surrender at Appomattox, April 9th. Negotiations were tense but respectful, with Johnston securing generous terms for his men. Impact. The surrender marked the effective end of the Confederacy's military resistance. Johnston's decision reflected his pragmatism, sparing his men further bloodshed. Emotional weight. Surrendering was a bitter pill, yet Johnston's focus on his soldiers' welfare showed his enduring sense of duty, even in defeat. Post-war life. After the war, Johnston struggled to rebuild his life. Career: he worked in insurance, railroads, and as a cotton broker, never regaining the prominence of his military years. He served one term in Congress 1879 to 1881 and as U.S. Railroad Commissioner 1885 to 1891. Advocating for Southern interests, Johnston published his memoir, Narrative of Military Operations 1874, defending his war record and critiquing Davis, revealing lingering resentment. Death in March 1891, Johnston attended Sherman's funeral in New York City, standing bareheaded in the rain to honor his former foe. He caught pneumonia and died weeks later at age 84. This act of respect underscored his soldier's code, even at personal cost. Johnston is remembered as a skilled defensive general whose caution preserved armies but clashed with the Confederacy's aggressive ethos. His feud with Davis and removal from command overshadowed his contributions. Yet his soldiers adored him, and historians like Craig Simmons praise his strategic foresight. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe for more military, Navy, and geopolitical updates.